6 aircraft. Not one of them looks like the others, yet they all converge on the same moment, the one where fire grows faster than any truck can drive, and the only way left is to hit it from above. And before we start, hold on to one thing. There are only 2 ways a helicopter carries water. It either hangs a bucket from a cable, or brings a fixed belly tank that fills through a snorkel while hovering over the lake. Each of these 6 picked a side. This is the fleet that flies over the flames. 6 aircraft, 1 mission. Erickson S-64 Air-Crane. We start with the legend. The Erickson S-64 was born as the Sikorsky Sky Crane, a military flying crane, which is why it has no cabin. It's just skeleton, engine, and hook. That bareness is the secret. With no dead weight, it lifts nearly 10,000 liters in a belly tank. And it fills that tank without landing. It drops a snorkel and sucks up water in about 45 seconds, from as little as half a meter of depth. On the drop, computer-controlled doors vary how wide they open based on speed and wind, painting a continuous line of water on the ground instead of a blur. In the Australian bushfires, it became a celebrity, nicknamed Elvis. It's the most precise machine in the fleet, and the only one you recognize from a kilometer away. Boeing CH-47 Chinook. From precise to brute. The Chinook solves power a different way. Instead of one big rotor and a tail rotor, it spins 2 rotors in tandem, one front and one back in opposite directions. One cancels the other's torque, and all the force is left over to lift weight. That's what fills the bucket. Up to 11,000 liters per pass, the largest volume on the entire list. It was built for war and spent decades restricted to the military. Only in 2013 did the U.S. government auction off the first ones to civilian operators, and companies like Billings, Columbia, and Coulson turned them into full-time firefighters. Today, just over 20 fly commercially worldwide. When a fire is too big for anything else, the Chinook is what answers. Kamov Ka-32, now the oddball of the list and the most ingenious. The Russian Kamov Ka-32 also gives up the tail rotor, but by another route, it stacks 2 rotors turning in opposite directions on the same axis. That's the coaxial design. With no long tail boom, it stays short, pivots on its own point, and holds strong wind and altitude without losing stability. Exactly the scenario of a mountain fire. That maneuverability makes it unbeatable in tight spaces. A closed valley, a street between buildings, a tiny clearing. No surprise, then, that it rules where the American models rarely reach. South Korea, Spain, Portugal, and Canada trust it for the work that demands a steady hand in a hard place. Bell 412/Super Huey. The 4th you hear before you see. The Bell family, the 205, the 212, and the 412, descends straight from the UH-1 Huey, the helicopter that defined the Vietnam War. That dry slap of the blades cutting the air isn't a sound effect. It's the signature of the bloodline. When the military retired thousands of them, operators bought the airframes cheap and rebuilt them into firefighting machines. Today, it's the everyday workhorse. It breaks no record for volume or size, but it does the work that holds the whole operation together. It carries the crew in the cabin, the bucket on the hook, and it goes back and back and back, while the spotlight stays on the giants. Reliable, cheap, tireless. Bell 407 HP. The 5th wins on the clock, not on size. The Bell 407 HP is light, agile, and cheap to run, and that's exactly why it arrives first. It's the initial attack helicopter. While the heavyweights are still being called out from base, it has already dropped into a narrow canyon to hit the fire while it still fits in a clearing. It carries little water, just over 400 liters, and it doesn't need more. Its value isn't volume. A fire fought in the first 10 minutes dies small. Fought only in the first hour, it makes headlines. The 407 exists to make sure most of them never get there. Sikorsky S-70. Firehawk, and we close with the most complete of them all. The Sikorsky S-70 Firehawk is the civilian version of the military Black Hawk, and it carries nearly 4,000 liters in an internal tank that refills in seconds, on the ground or drafting from a lake in flight. But what sets it apart isn't the water. It's everything it does beyond it. On a single shift, the Firehawk drops its load on the flames, lands to load the crew, lifts off again to hoist out an injured person, and still runs the medical transport to the hospital. It's firefighter, rescue, and ambulance in one airframe. That's why CAL FIRE is replacing its old Hueys with it. When the mission stops being putting out the fire and becomes pulling someone out of it, the Firehawk is the one that goes. 6 designs, 2 schools of engineering, 1 single mission.